But in this psalmist right here, we see that the Lord is my light and my salvation. So the first step we have to realize is receiving salvation is not receiving the light. It is an invitation to it. Think about back in the day when you had the lamps. When we talk about the lamps here, the lamp doesn't create any light without a flame. You can walk around with a light all day. See, we've gotten ruined in the years. We have flashlights now. I don't need a flame. I just need some batteries. So what we found is, even in those days, as a lamp, when we don't understand that we're called to be the light, there's a deeper calling that we're called into. What we become is a lamp that contains the light, contains the flame. But Jesus didn't come to contain the light. He was the light. How do we know that? Because then on the other side, when he's talking about the fire, he didn't come to contain anything. He came to consume it. There is a difference between a light and a flame that's used as a light. A flame just doesn't shine bright, and it consumes a fuel. So what is this light then? If Jesus' salvation and a light, the light is knowledge. Because you can't trust Jesus to do what he's going to do until you know that he can do it. The woman at the well, she had to go give some knowledge to some people to invite them back to that space. But there is something that developed over that 2-day period that began to consume them. I don't believe because you told me about it. I believe because he has affected me. You turn a light on, it doesn't really affect anything. You can turn it on and turn it off, and you see no difference from the one you turn it off, turn it back, and then turn it back on. You set a fire in your house, you're going to see some light. But I guarantee when it's all said and done, you're going to have a difference around you. So I wonder if we've been dealing with manufactured lights, if we've been handing out flashlights with Jesus printed on the side, instead of giving a flame, but more importantly, inviting them to the source of the fire. Because if I just give you a candle, that candle's eventually going to burn out. If I just tell you the stories about how he's affected me and don't bring you back to the one who started the fire in me, if my life is not consumed by the flame that has been put in my life, eventually I will flicker out. Jesus is the light. John 12:35. Hear what he tells the disciples. So Jesus said to them, "The light is among you for a little while longer. Walk while you have the light, lest darkness overtake you." In other words, you can stay here, but the light's walking. You better walk with me while the light's still here. Otherwise, the darkness will overtake you if you stay here. The one who walks in the darkness does not know where he is going. While you have the light, believe in the light, that you may become sons of light. John 9:5. John 9, verse 5. As long as I am in the world, I am the light of the world. So Jesus, when he was here, was the light. He was an example of what we should be doing. So in other words, you see people who come, and we're on the outer layer of people who come to hear. Well, I heard about Jesus. Let me go check this Jesus guy out. But you'll find oftentimes in the Word where there were people who hung around Jesus and there were people who were committed to Jesus. Even some of the disciples, not the 12, but the ones on the outskirts, the ones close enough to get their name in the paper, made the team, however, just weren't on the floor. Because Jesus, when he starts talking about eat of my flesh. Suddenly, these people are like, what's he talking about? Tell me to eat his body? Is this weird? And he said, and suddenly they began to leave, and the disciples came to him. Jesus, everybody's leaving. He said, yeah, you want to go too? Or are you going to stick around? There was a consumption that it had in the 12 disciples that they couldn't leave. Because they didn't hear about Jesus, they weren't just handed something small. It had begun to work in their life, and they saw the manifestation of the example of who God was. And I'm wondering, have we lost the flame in the church? Have we lost those powerful moments where Jesus is truly changing lives? Are we just living off some old moments and stories that we've heard? Or are we truly trusting him to change our lifestyles, change our hearts, do things, separate us from fear? Right after the psalmist said, the Lord is my light and my salvation. Whom shall I fear? The revelation of Jesus is not just a light. It is, I don't have to be scared of anything anymore. Y'all remember when you were kids? I never did this, but there was kids who were scared of the dark and they had a flashlight, right? But you could turn the flashlight on, but what else did you have to do to make yourself not scared? Put the blanket over your head, right? Suddenly, the blanket and this light protects you from everything outside the blanket. The power and authority didn't come from the light. It came from your blanket. Because you thought unknowingly that what was out there couldn't get through it. That's a lot of our Christianity today. We're not getting power and authority from the light. It's from the barriers that we've erected that we think have some amount of power on what's outside of us. You know why they're not crushing you? You want to know why nothing ever broke through your blanket? Because there was nothing out there that could. However, in our Christianity today, there's nothing out there that will. Why? Because he's okay knowing that you are living in erected barriers that will prevent you from walking as a light to the ones around you. He's taken the power and authority of this flame that you have inside of you because you don't understand that it's Jesus that's the light and it's not you. Why have we been peddling this for years? We love to preach that scripture, you are a light on a hill, and then I just send you out of here and say, burn, baby, burn. Disco Inferno. And we wonder why we're not changing anything. Because we've contained a light that if you get close enough to us, maybe you'll see it, maybe you won't, depending on how often we talk about Jesus in our workplaces or our families or at the dinner table. I really can't talk about him right there. You're going to find out if you're around me any amount of time, you're probably going to hear Jesus.